What's going on YouTube? It is Repulse back in another video. In today's video, we have another first round mock draft for the 2026 class. You can see this is a pretty updated board. Obviously, if the Chargers beat the Eagles tonight, this is before Monday Night Football, then they'll move to 23rd. If the Eagles beat the Chargers, then they'll stay here. Other than that, I think the Texans and the Colts are the two teams that need to swap. And that's about it. Maybe the Panthers overtaking the Buccaneers. I don't know how that division looks right now, but yeah, definitely the Texans overtaking the Colts because they have the tiebreaker over them and they have the same record. So Texans are now in a playoff spot, Colts are not. So that'll switch soon, I bet. But yeah, here we are at number one with the Giants, and I think this is best case scenario for them. They do not need a quarterback. That is something that they really don't need at all. Um, but what they do have the ability to do is trade down. And I'm gonna have them trade with their in-state team, the New York Jets. We'll just do 7 and 21 for one in this, just because that's the two first-round picks. I explained this in the last mock draft. So the Jets are going to move up to the first overall pick. Something that I noticed was that the Jets were not in attendance for the Indiana Ohio State game. So for today's draft, I am going to give them Dante Moore at the number one overall pick. I think I did this last week as well, but I do think the Jets are going to be a Dante Moore team. Wouldn't be surprised if they watch that game against James Madison or that second round matchup, which I believe would be against the 4 seed in Texas Tech. Um, but yeah, Dante Moore to the Jets, number one overall pick. Very good quarterback. Didn't start last year. Obviously, Dylan Gabriel was there. Started at UCLA, just bad resources. But this year, he's been shown to make every single throw on the field. I've said I really like the Iowa tape. I don't think that grade's as low as it was. It was pouring rain. When I mean pouring rain, but he was able to string a drive at the end of the game to get a win on the road against a ranked opponent who have a very respectable defense. If you know Iowa, you know how good their defense is, and Dante Moore absolutely picked them apart on that last drive. And I think he's been the second best quarterback in college football this year. Actually, no, third. I'd put Mendoza, Say, and then Dante Moore there. Um, but I do think he has all the tools to succeed in the NFL. If you look at his first look, he is 6'3", 206, so maybe you want to put on a little bit of weight, but definitely has the size to make it in the NFL. And I definitely think has the natural arm talent to have or be a quarterback with a high ceiling in the league. Headed over to 2 with the Raiders. I think this is pretty self-explanatory. Dante Moore went 1. You go for Nano Mendoza at 2. It's really up to whoever to say who you want as QB1, QB2. I think it's a 1A, 1B class in Dante Moore and Mendoza. I think those are the two top guys, and then it drops a little bit to Ty Simpson. Dante Moore could go back to college. That's definitely a possibility, but I think if he has assurances that he's in this top 4 quadrant with the Browns, that um, he could end up just declaring for the draft altogether. Um, So yeah, that's where I see it. I see Fernando Mendoza going to the Raiders. I think that's a great fit. I think it's a team culture that really suits him. With Pete Carroll as head coach, kind of nerdy guys there. But I really like Fernando Mendoza, able to stay in the pocket, take hits, but deliver good throws. And I have him going to the Raiders here at number 2, who moved ahead of the Titans, who had the number 1 overall pick. But they beat the Browns, so that's why they are now at pick 3. And I think the Raiders may have been 2 and just stayed at 2. I don't know, to be honest. No, it was the Saints, but the Saints won this week. But here at 3 with the Titans, they have so many needs that I think they could trade out of this pick with a team that has multiple first-round picks like the Cowboys. If they want to go up get their edge rusher in Ruben Bain or something like that, or a team that needs a quarterback, or you could just stick and pick. Um, it's really up to them. Any teams down the board don't really look that willing to move up to 3, and I don't think there's 2 trades in the first 3 picks in the draft. So for the Titans here, I am going to stick and pick for them. Um, and, we don't know who their head coach is going to be next year. I do think you want to give Cam Ward some options at wide receiver because Calvin Ridley just wasn't cutting it this season. You like some things that Chimere Dike was doing this year in terms of all-purpose yards, being a returner, as well as not too bad of a wide receiver. I think Ionar has also shown some flashes this year. Um, but maybe this is a Jordan Tyson spot. Maybe this is a Cardinal Tate spot. Carnell Tate was excellent in the game against Indiana. Scored the touchdown for them, but ultimately lost 13-10. But ideal size for a wide receiver, really good route runner. Jordan Tyson has some health concerns in there, so it's really just a pick and choose battle of what you want in Tennessee. Do you want to bolster the offense? For me, I'm gonna go defensively. I think they can improve that edge spot in. I think he's the clear edge one in this draft, and I think probably one of the best players in this draft, if not the best player. In Ruben Bain, one of the only guys who really looks like an edge that can play all three downs and stop the run. Kendrick Falk can do that. I don't think David Bailey can. Cassius Howell can't. T.J. Parker might be able to, but he's a little bit smaller too. Um, but yeah, Ruben Bain here at number 3 to the Titans. Here at number 4 to the Browns. I went quarterback last mock draft, but we just saw Shedeur play some of his best football um, in this past week against the Titans. Although it's not really that great of a defense, but um, just cause maybe you want to add to the storyline, get Shador some weapons, really roll with him as a starting quarterback for the future. You could definitely do that. You could definitely bolster the secondary if you want with Caleb Downs. I just don't know how high a defensive back, or I guess a safety, not a defensive back, technically will go, um, or how much teams will value him. But I definitely think you could consider Ty Simpson here. Um, for the Browns, I just don't think he's been that great as of recent. You can see how much his rank has dropped. Um, I think these are new rankings actually. Yeah, they are. I actually quite like them. But I don't think um, that Ty Simpson should be that far down the board. But hasn't played like a first round quarterback. But here at number 4 with the Browns, I just talked about him a second ago. I'm going to go Cardinal Tate to staying in the state of Ohio, going to Cleveland from Columbus. Um, yeah, really, really good route runner. Could definitely be wide receiver one in this class just because teams may value Jordan Tyson's health history a lot. And I think Cardinal Tate could end up being the best wide receiver from this class. Definitely think there's some good guys here. My personal favorite is Makai Lemon. I do really like the explosiveness of Casey Conception. I really like the versatility of Jeremy Bernard. Um, I think it's a pretty good wide receiver class. I like Zach Branch. I think he's a really good screen player. Kind of like a Rashi Rice, just a lot shorter and smaller. Yeah, 5'10", 180. Eric Singleton is also a shorter wide receiver, but I think he is quite good as well. I like Antonio Williams. Um, I like Nick Harbor as a deep threat. Just a lot of decent guys in this class that could definitely do something. Um, but here at number 4, I went Carnell Tate just because, might as well add to Shador's weapons. You could definitely get them a tackle here. If you want to go Francis Mauigoa, if you want to go Spencer Fano, I don't think Caden Proctor will go anywhere near there. I think it's a whoever you prefer between these two guys. Could definitely, consider the interior. Pregnon's been very good this year. Ione, I think, has now grown to my favorite guard in this class. Um, but here with the Saints at 5, I'm going back to back wide receivers here. And I'm going Jordan Tyson because you have your deep threat in Chris Olave, and I think Jordan Tyson's another player that can be that deep threat for you. Um, but I think he's also just a really good all-around receiver in terms of route running, able to catch the ball over the middle of the field. You can see his deep yards, you can see his deep catches, but you can see his slot catches and slot yards there too as well. Didn't play that much this season, only played 9 games. A little bit of an injury history there. 2023, I think you saw, but 2024 he was excellent. Played a good amount this year actually. I thought he played only like 6 games or so, but really, really good wide receiver, really good anywhere across the field, wherever you want to move him. And if the Saints want to invest in Tyler Shuck, then that's what they do here. And they invest by getting him another weapon in Jordan Tyson after losing Rashid Shaheed to the Seahawks in a trade. Moving on to number 6 with the Commanders. I'm going to have them go with. I'm between Edge and DB. I just think they really need to bolster that pass rush. Um, yeah, I think they need to bolster their pass rush just because how old Von Miller really is right now. Um, And so for that reason, I'm gonna have them go Kendrick Falk, my out and out number 2 edge in this class because I think he's a guy that can play on all three downs just like Ruben Bain can. Definitely has the high ceiling, I think, of any edge rusher in this class just because of this frame 6'6", 285. Just a huge edge rusher. Really, really good start to the season. Kind of slowed down when he played better opponents. But definitely think he affected the game against Alabama. Definitely think he affected the game against A&M as well. But here at number 6, I think the Commanders desperately need edge, so that's what I'm fitting them with. I'm going uh, Kendrick Falk here. Here at number 7 with the Giants, I think this is definitely where you can see the first tackle off the board, but I do really think they need linebacker help. And I think if you're the Giants and you were able to get 2 first-round picks and maybe one next year, um, trading out of one with the Jets, then you struck the lottery because you see here that Arvell Reese is here, and I think probably him or Ruben Bain are the best players in this class, in my opinion. Arvell Reese has just had a tremendous year. I think he should definitely be graded higher, but one of the best linebackers, actually, well, the best linebacker in this class, out and out. Um, and I think the Giants desperately need help on that linebacker course. So Arvell Reese heads to New York. I think you could definitely have an argument that if he's there with number one, you could take him number one. But I think a team that desperately needs a quarterback will be willing to move up. So that's why the Giants take Arvell Reese there. Moving on to number 8 with the Cardinals, you could go anywhere here. And this is where the first tackle is headed off the board. I'm going Francis Mauigoa. I think I did this last draft. But again, Mauigoa is someone that can play right tackle, someone that can play guard for you. Um, I think the Cardinals need someone opposite of Paris Johnson to play on that right hand side. Um, don't know who your quarterback's going to be next season, so maybe you want to invest in a Ty Simpson. Maybe you draft like a Lenore Sellers down the board, although I expect him to go back to college, or a Brennan Sorsby down the board. I think someone that could sneak his way with his tape. um, into the earlier bits of this draft. I think he had a tremendous season for Cincinnati. So, maybe you see him down the board here with this like Rams pick, who don't know when Matthew Stafford's ever going to retire. Although he's playing at an MVP level this year, maybe you want to invest a little bit in a quarterback that can develop behind him and then be ready when he ultimately leaves. But for the Cardinals, I go Francis Mauigoa just because I think he can play either of these two positions right here. I think he can play right tackle. And if he doesn't work at right tackle, you stick him at guard, and I think you have a very good guard there. Um, Here at number 9 with the Rams, I also think they're going to do something similar. I think Spencer Fauna can play right tackle for them. Um, but I'm actually going to give them. Eh, I did this last week, I think, as well. Actually, maybe I didn't. I don't know. I'll look back. But I'm gonna give them Jermon McCoy. I don't think Emmanuel Forbes has been as good as advertised in the last couple weeks. Definitely shut down, or well, you can't really say shut down when Michael Wilson had the production he did, but the Rams kind of shut down the Cardinals, although it is the Cardinals in this last week. Um, but I think most of that was just the offense absolutely dominating. I went against Puka in fantasy, so not great, but I do have a chance to win this week if Gadsden and Quentin Johnston do well. So there's that. But yeah, I think they could use some help on the exterior, and I think Jermon McCoy is the best corner in this class. As I said last week, you can see that he has not played a single snap in this year, but I think definitely cornerback one headed from 2024, just one of the best corners in college football last year. Um, so, I definitely think his draft stock will be high, especially if he tests well, or if he's ready to test at all. I don't really know his status on that. But yeah, Jermon McCoy here at number 9 to the Rams, who, yes, Emmanuel Forbes has played well, but replace him on the exterior, or you could have Jermon McCoy play in the slot because he does play the ball very well. Here at number 10 with the Bengals, I'm going to go David Bailey. I don't know if I did that last mock draft or not. Maybe I just made 3 back-to-back-to-back picks. Um, I don't know, but I do think Ruben Bain went here and Kendrick Falk might have gone here. I don't know. I have no clue. But yeah, David Bailey to the Bengals just seems like a Bengals type edge rusher that's just gonna get to the quarterback, but can't stop the run because it doesn't seem like the Bengals will ever be able to stop the run no matter who they have. Um, but yeah, definitely someone that can get to the quarterback. Really, really good rusher. Just again, how many snaps can you have him out there when it's not just obvious passing downs? Yet to be seen. Hopefully he bulks up, but hopefully he keeps that explosiveness while bulking up because he's a tremendous player. Um, so yeah, David Bailey heads over to Cincinnati in this mock draft at number 10. Moving on to number 11 with the Minnesota Vikings. You could go a multitude of different ways, but I think you're very pleased that Lomu is still or not Lomu, Fano is still here on the board. Sorry, I was talking about his teammate. Yeah, I think you're very pleased that Spencer Fano is here on the board because I do think you definitely need help on that offensive line. Um, Maybe more interior than exterior because your two tackles did in fact get hurt this year, so maybe you want to go Ione. Um, and hope that your tackles stay healthy in this next year. But I think Spencer Fano is someone that could definitely go pretty high in this class just due to his frame. Someone that you can stick at tackle. And maybe you want to move him on the interior. I think Brian O'Neill and Darisaw are good enough to obviously be your starting tackles, one of the best combinations in the league. So maybe you see someone as an Ione that's better suited for this team to play guard. And I think I just talked myself into that because actually, no, I'm not. Just because I think there is versatility there with Spencer Fano, but I do think he is a true tackle. Um, so yeah, Spencer Fano does go there just to back up Darisaw and O'Neal and potentially play guard in case they do need help on that interior, which they just need help across the board on that O line. Just hasn't been a great group. Moving on to number 12 with the um, Dolphins, sorry. Played very well this last week against the Jets. Just been very consistent in the last couple of weeks. Won a lot of games. Just been a very decent team now, up to 6-7. Um, Tied with the Ravens and the Chiefs in terms of records. So the Chiefs should drop below the Cowboys. But um, yeah, just not really gonna talk about it too much. But yeah, here at number 12 with the Dolphins, they could go a multitude of different ways. Um, and I think they could use help on the defensive side of the ball more than anything. But they could also use help at guard if you want to go EIONA here. But for me, I'm going to give them a bolster on this linebacking group that I desperately think needs help. So, Arvell Reese's teammate, Sonny Styles, does go here. I think he would be perfect in Carolina, but I think the Dolphins could value the defensive side of the ball a lot more just because of their inability to stop the run at times of the season, especially against the Panthers. I think of immediately. Just that start of the season, you can see the holes in that defense. I definitely think they've got it together as a group a little bit more in the past couple of weeks, but um, whatever you can do to bolster that and stop that early season slump that they've had the last 2 years, I think they're going to try to do. And I definitely think Sonny Styles solidifying that linebacker core helps a lot. So I think it's a very rationalized pick for the Dolphins here at number 12. Moving on to 13 with the Ravens, they desperately need wide receiver help, and I'd love to give them a Kyle Lemon, but they do have a very good slot in Save Flowers, and I don't think you're going to have someone on the um, inside play for them. I think you could definitely see them go with a guy that can play on the outside in this draft, um, like a Antonio Williams who can play on the outside. Although I think played in the slot a lot. Yeah, slot catches, slot yards. Um, yeah, not many true outside receivers in this draft. You could see Makai Lemon, a lot of slot catches. Denzel Boston, someone that could go deep, be your deep threat guy if you do want him. But here with the Ravens at 13, I did have this pick last week, which was Peter Woods. But I'm actually not going to go Peter Woods here. I'm going to go Caleb Banks. Guy that I like more on the defensive line. I think just showed out a lot more last year. Didn't play this year at all. Um, well, played 3 games, but just didn't really do much in those games. No sacks, no quarterback hits, just pretty average player, but only played 3 games, battling injury all year. But last year, you could see how strong his hands were and how dominant he was on the interior. So definitely think the Ravens will value that, and that is why he heads to Baltimore to help that interior defensive line, who does not know if Matabike will ever play a snap again in the NFL, which is such a sad story, but just the truth. They've got to reinvest on that defensive line, and I think Caleb Banks will definitely help them do that. Here at number 14 with the Cowboys, you would love for a Sonny Styles to fall here, and I think you could definitely go C.J. Allen here, but I think C.J. Allen will be there at 28, which I think is something I did last week, but I think it's just such a good fit. Cowboys desperately need a linebacker to get Kenneth Murray off the field. I know Logan Wilson's played well, but I think he's around 30. So how much longer does he really have to play that top notch level at linebacker? I know they can last pretty long, but yet to be seen. Here for the Cowboys, I think you could definitely get someone on that edge who can solidify the edge. You have two very good interior players in Kenny Clark and Quinn Williams, as Raku has played well. And I think you get a guy that can go after the quarterback here. And Cash Sal has definitely done that this season for A&M. You can see 12 sacks here. Kind of lackluster the last couple of weeks, but you can see that middle stretch of the season. He was just absolutely dominant. Not the best against the run, obviously just a true out and out pass rusher. Little bit of a smaller frame. TJ Parker could do something similar for you. Had a really good season last year, and I think he can stop the run at a little bit of a better rate. So for that reason, I'm going to go TJ Parker here for the Cowboys, just in case you want to use that frame to help um, stop the run. Sorry, I was just completely blanking. Yeah, stop the run. I think TJ Parker could definitely help you do that on the edge. One of the only guys in this class that can really do that. You look at the edges. Romello Heights just a true out and out pass rusher. Both of those guys from Tech were this year. Kendrick Falk can do that. Ruben Bain can do that. Other guys, I think LT Overton has a good frame. Definitely played himself somewhere around the first round. Quincy Rhodes has an amazing frame, 6'6", 275. Derek Moore can. Dennis Sutton's an athletic freak. So wherever you want him, I'm sure he can line up. Jay Sean Barham, excuse me, played very well this season. Just more of an out and out pass rusher guy, but can definitely stop the run with his physicality. Here at number 15 with the Chiefs, I think you've seen the glaring hole all year in this team, which there has been a multitude of them, but last night against the Texans, sorry, go Texans, they were just unable to run the ball at all. Pacheco did nothing. Kareem Hunt did a decent amount. Scored a touchdown, but I think only averaged like 2.5 yards a carry, maybe less. So I definitely think you need that explosive back, and I think Rashard Smith's been decent for them, but just hasn't got carries ever since the return of Pacheco and the reemergence of Kareem Hunt, if you want to say. Um, so yeah, I think they definitely need their RB1. I think they definitely need a guy that Mahomes can check the ball down to and know that he has the ability to break out every single play. And that is Jeremiah Love, the clear out and out number one running back in this class. Um, yeah, I think pretty much a shoot in pick if he's there for the Chiefs. They're going to take him, and I think that really kickstarts that offense to get them back into gear where they should be. Here at number 16 with the Panthers, um, I really like this pick here, and that is Makai Lemon. Um, yeah, I think it's just a great fit. They definitely need someone on the slot to really help them out. Um, I think Tedder McMillan has been great on the outside, and I think he can definitely play some slot. But I do think you need a true slot receiver that can, get those short yards, those gritty yards. And I think Makai Lemon is one of the grittiest players in this class. I just really love the way he plays. Um, I've said this last week. Plays a lot taller and a lot heavier than he is, but also plays very quick. Just one of the best receivers in this class, one of the most fun to watch. And I think the Panthers would be ecstatic to get him to pair with Tedder McMillan, with Bryce Young playing excellent as of recent. Here with the Texans, we know that this is not the correct pick. It would technically be the Giants' pick right here. Because the Texans and the Colts would just ultimately swap places as of now. So I'm just going to force that trade. Um, so the Giants are here at number 17. They do have Javon Holland in the secondary, but the amount that teams run too high and the amount that Caleb Downs can roll down into the box, I think that's definitely valuable. They also could use the offensive line help. You could go Ione here if you want to. Um, but, you know, I do think the idea of having Caleb Downs and Javon Holland is very intriguing. Um, so for that, just talent-wise, I am going to go Caleb Downs, who knows to play off of Arvell Reese very well. Teammates at Ohio State, New York gets two Ohio State guys to really bolster that defense, which I think definitely needs bolstering with how well the offense has played with Jackson Dart there, and expecting Cam Scatterboon and um, I can't speak. And Malik Neighbors to come back next season. Here at number 18 with the Detroit Lions, I think this is pretty obvious where you need to go, and that is offensive line. I think Ione is probably the best offensive lineman left in this class. Someone that probably could go in the top half of this draft just sneaks out a little bit here at 18. Um, And yeah, I think a guard is really needed for the Lions anywhere on the offensive line, just due to injuries is needed. We don't know if Dennis, or not. I was saying Jennings Dunker for a reason, for some reason. We don't know if Taylor Decker is going to play next season for them. You could see guys like Xavier Chaplin play himself into the first round and potentially become a Lion. The more that they win, the more they fall down the board. Um, Caleb Lomu, someone that can play tackle. Um, I think Caleb Tiernan can play tackle as well. Um, but yeah, Ione definitely helps them on that interior. The offensive line interior blocking just hasn't been good enough. Montgomery's been getting hit in the backfield a lot. Gibbs, you're getting out in space more, so you don't realize it as much. But you see David Montgomery's yards per carry. Yes, he did break one against the Cowboys, but as of recent, hasn't been that great. So that is why Ione goes there to bolster that Lions offensive line that desperately needs help. Here at number 19 with the Pittsburgh Steelers, I'm gonna go Ty Simpson here. I don't know if I did this or if I went these. No, I went Ty Simpson to the Browns last week. Yeah, I think Ty Simpson's fallen down the board a little bit, and I think that could definitely play into the Steelers' hands because I do think he's genuinely a decent quarterback. Um, I do definitely think he needs to have a little bit more natural arm talent to really play himself into that top half of the first round. But I do think he's accurate enough and throws the ball well enough to have an argument to be in the first round. And I think the Steelers, with not knowing Aaron Rodgers' future or not knowing how much longer he will be in the NFL, will look to invest in a quarterback to have for the long term. And I think Ty Simpson is definitely that. A guy that learning under Aaron Rodgers could definitely develop into a very good player. So that is why he heads over to Pittsburgh. Here at number 20 with the Buccaneers, I think this is potentially one of my favorite players in or favorite fits in this draft class. I really like Kate Otten. I don't know how much left he has on his deal, um, and I think it's around 1 to 2 years. I'm not too sure, but Kenyon Sadiq is one of the most dynamic players in this class, even at the tight end spot. Been very, very, very good for Oregon this year. And Kate Otten is in the final year of his 4-year deal, I believe. His rookie deal, obviously, with the Buccaneers. So I definitely think they'll be looking to add to that tight end spot. We know how dynamic the wide receivers are. We know that offensive line needs a little bit of help. So maybe you want to go pregnant on there, or maybe you want to go with Caden Proctor or something like that, guy that can play tackle or play guard. Um, with the Buccaneers here. But for me, they get a dynamic playmaker in Kenyon Sadiq at number 20 to, basically elevate the level of play that K. Dalton's given you in the last couple years. And he's been a very reliable tight end, don't get me wrong. But, um, you know, I think you could definitely do with a a playmaker at that tight end spot with the amount of playmakers you have at wide receiver. And Kenyon Sadiq does that. And he's also a very good run blocker, in my opinion. I know the grades probably won't be that. Yeah, 62, not that bad. But he's been great this year. That's definitely, excuse me, tight end one in this class. I think Eli Stowers could potentially be tight end two. Max Clare has been decent for. Sorry, I'm just completely for Ohio State. Sorry, just completely blank for some reason. Okay, now to the true Texans spot here at 21. Obviously we traded with the Giants, although that's just where the proper draft board is. Here, 221. And you could go a multitude of different ways with the Texans. You want to look at the running backs. Jonah Coleman's probably your next best guy, but obviously not picking him in the first round. You want to look wide receiver. You could go Casey Conception if you want that explosive player, but I think Jalen Knoll could definitely be that for them. Um, and I think you definitely saw an issue last night with the Texans, and that was Chris Jones just absolutely dominating the interior, and a lot of that was um, Jake Andrews' inability to block Chris Jones on that interior. So, do you think Pregnon can play center? Has he ever played center? He hasn't. He's played a lot of just basically all left guard. You could go Connor Liu if you really value, a center playing center that much, but I do think Emmanuel Pregnon would most likely be able to shift into a center role if you do want him to in the NFL. And I think he's definitely played himself into the first round with his tape. Um, this year. So I'm going to go Emmanuel Pregnon in the first round to the Texans, getting the Oregon offensive lineman who used to play for USC, but I think that transfer has definitely bolstered his draft stock. Here at number 22 to the Chargers, I think you'd love Caleb Downs to fall, but I think the Texans would swipe Caleb Downs any day of the week if he was there just because of the injuries they've had to that secondary. Um, but with the Chargers here at 22, for the first time ever, you don't really need to look at the wide receiver core. I think they've been great this year. Um, but under a Jim Harbaugh team, I think you desperately need to look to the offensive line. And I think Caden Proctor will be your guy. I think a guy that can play anywhere across the offensive line, can play tackle, can play guard. And maybe that's what the Texans value. Maybe these two flip. But I do think Pregnon has played himself a little above Proctor this year, to be honest. Proctor has not been that great, but I mean, you see his athletic ability, you see his size. He's been playing left tackle his entire collegiate career. Was pretty much a shoe in of top left tackle with Spencer Fano, but just not his best year. But that's definitely a good tackle there that the Chargers will be getting. Here at number 23, with the Philadelphia Eagles, you could go a multitude of different ways. And for me, I'm going to bolster that secondary because you don't have that guy opposite of Quinion Mitchell. I think Mansour Lane is someone that could be definitely cornerback winning the class with the way he's played this season, as well as Jermon McCoy not playing at all this season. So maybe we see Delane go ahead of McCoy, but definitely cornerback 1 and 2 there. And then Avion Terrell, a slight drop off to number 3. But excellent tape for Avion Terrell as well. I think 5'10", 5'11", but plays a lot bigger than that. Just a really good boundary corner. But how much of that will be bully ball if you have a guy like who's a tall one, a Nico Collins or a Mike Evans out in that interior or exterior, excuse me, that you could just throw the ball up to. Maybe Avion Terrell is not the best at that. So we'll see how he does in the NFL. But yeah, I think Mansour Lane's definitely CB2 in this class, in my opinion. Here at number 24 with the Bears, who have given up a lot against the run this year, and I think you can definitely help that out with Peter Woods. Has not had a good year for his standards at all. Definitely a lot better of a last season as well as a freshman season because I believe he's a true junior. Yeah, he's true junior, really good as freshman year, really good as sophomore year. Just a little bit of a drop off, but Clemson has been a mess this year. We got to the quarterback 3 times this season, but you can see doesn't have the hurries or the hits or any of that. Um, just really, really good against the run, and I think that's what the Bears desperately need to solve is how they're going to be able to stop the run, and I think Peter Woods will be a big say in that. Definitely someone that has the potential to be a top 10 pick, but I think the way he's played this year plays him down the board just a little bit, and he goes here at number 24 to the Bears. Hit over to number 25 with the Buffalo Bills. Bills, Bills, excuse me. I'm gonna go edge rusher here. I think you saw their inability to get to the quarterback against bad teams or bad offensive line groups like the Texans, but Texans have definitely been a little bit better on the offensive line front this year. But um, I don't think Joey Bosa's got that same step he has. Um, I think Greg Rousseau definitely needs to step up his play. We don't know how much or how well Ed Oliver is going to play coming back from injury. Maybe you want to go Caden McDonald, someone that's excellent at stopping the run, just not great at getting to the quarterback. And I think that's what the Bills need is someone that can get to the quarterback. And I think that's Romello Height. I think that is Cassius Howell. I think Cassius Howell did it against better competition, but I do think that the Bills value the frame of an edge rusher, someone that can play all 3 downs and stop the run on that edge, and I think LT Overton is that for them. I think was missing in the SEC championship against Georgia. Yeah, he was. Not that great this year, but very, very good last year. Improved his sack numbers this year in comparison to last year, but definitely think he's a kind of Shamar Stewart guy who just has the frame to, teams value that to be an absolute homewrecker in the league. So that's why he heads over to Buffalo at number 25. Moving on to 26 with the 49ers here, who have had a really good year despite all the, chaos with um, injuries. And I think you just need help on the offensive line. Jennings Dunker, I think, is just a true guard, to be honest. In the league, Caleb Lomu, someone that can play tackle. Um, and I think that could be the pick here. Unless you want to go Connor Liu, desperately need help on the interior as well. But you need help a lot of different areas for the 49ers just because of the amount of injuries you had. And you could use an edge rusher as well. Don't know how Nick Bosa is going to play coming back. Um, but I think you just go with the offensive line here, and I think Caleb Lomu will be that player for you. Someone that can play right tackle for you. I think he's played right tackle or left tackle, excuse me, most of his career at Spencer Fano playing on that right for Utah. You can see here played left tackle in 2023, but other than that, has moved over to the right hand side. Caleb Lomu, obviously Trent Williams is going to be on that left, pretty much shoot in. But you could play him across the entire offensive line if you really want him to. But I think he could play at right tackle, which they desperately need help at. So I think it is a good fit here in San Francisco for Caleb Lomu, and that is where he goes. Moving on to 27, the Browns have Jacksonville's pick, obviously, for the Travis Hunter trade. Um, and they could go multiple different ways. But for me, I think they could use some explosion, and I think Casey Conception does that for them. I think you could definitely run Judy in the slot if you want to, but they need help on that wide receiver core pretty desperately. And for this, we are just going with weapons for Shedeur Sanders. I went with Cardinal Tate earlier on. I think two first round wide receivers would be something that is a little unheard of, but you know what? Let's have some fun. You know, I think Casey Conception can be that explosive play guy. You have Cardinal Tate in that slot, and then Jerry Judy opposite of him, and then who knows? You can maybe have a um, top wide receiver core in the NFL with just that. Moving on to 28, I hinted at this pick earlier. I'm just gonna stick with it, and that is C.J. Allen to the Cowboys. I think they desperately need help stopping the run as well as help just doing anything with pass coverage over the middle. And I think CJ Allen with his athleticism will help them do that. Moving on to 29 with the Seahawks. I think they could use help on that secondary. I don't think Tyreek Woolen has been as good as advertised, and I'm going to go Avion Terrell here, who I talked about. Um, yeah, I think just a really good corner who plays bigger than his size, and I think the Seahawks desperately need someone that can replace Tariq Woolen on the outside or play that. Actually, no, not play that nickel. Sorry, they have Devin Witherspoon, but someone to play opposite of. I just said it, Tariq Woolen. Sorry, I blank a lot for some reason. But yeah, I think Avion Terrell is a great guy for that. And then at number 32, the New England Patriots. I'm just all over the place today. Yeah, to the New England Patriots. Sorry. I think they desperately need someone that can get to the quarterback. And I think Cassius Howell is one of the best at that in this draft class. So, you don't need really that guy that can stop the run. I think they're very good at stopping the run, but you need someone that has a very good pass rush. And I think Cassius Howell is one of those best or one of the best guys in this draft class at that pass rush. You can see run defense is not that great, but you can see how good his pass rush grade really is, and that's why his grade is so high ultimately, is because of the amount he's able to get to the quarterback. I think 12 sacks this season or 13. 12 sacks you can see there. Um, but yeah, just a very good player. Been very good for A&M this year, who have really showed out. Moving on to 31 with the LA Rams. And you could go a lot of different areas here. I don't think they really need anything on that front seven. Maybe you could go with an interior defensive lineman. Um, you know, but I think they're very, very good everywhere on that front seven. But I'm saying if there's a weakest spot, maybe it's D line, maybe it's linebacker, but you're not really playing Anthony Hill in that first round. Maybe LT Overton did play, and it was Deontay Lawson that didn't. I don't know. But 31 here with the Rams. I don't know what you really. It's one of the most complete teams in the NFL. Do you want to go offensive line? I think you could, just in case right tackle Rob Havenstein decides to retire. But I do think Janice Dunker is a guard in the NFL, but maybe you want to stick him out at right tackle in the NFL, which he has played off college, as you can see. Really good run blocker, but I don't know if Iowa guys really translate to the McVay system. But maybe you try him out at right tackle. If he doesn't work, you just move him to guard, which you do kind of need help at as well. So, Jennings Dunker heads to the Rams. Maybe you could go quarterback there. Um, like a project, 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 ultimate project, as well as Lenore Sellers. But I don't think Trinidad Chambliss will be that great in the NFL, to be honest. But yeah, you could go with the project quarterback there just to develop behind Matthew Stafford. Nussmeier's a project. Maybe work on his decision making before you throw him into the fold. You can see 12 picks, kind of hindered down this season, but only played 9 games, only 12 touchdowns. LSU just wasn't great. Um, but last pick in the draft, you have the 11-2 Broncos. And I think you could go a lot of different areas here. Um, I don't think you need running back like it says you do. Don't think you need wide receiver. Don't think you need offensive line. Ideally, Kenyon Sadiq is a Bronco. I think that's the position you can improve on because I don't think Evan Ingram has been as good as advertised. But maybe some disagree with me. Um, you have a really good pass rush, decent enough secondary. Maybe you could use a second corner opposite to or not Brandon Moss, Riley Moss. I just hinted at the pick that I'm gonna do, which is Brandon Cisse, from South Carolina. Um, but yeah, I think you need someone that can replace Riley Moss because I think he's definitely been that target guy for other teams to really go after the Broncos with. Especially when Pat Surtain was hurt, they just bombs away on Riley Moss and couldn't really do anything about it. But now that Pat Surtain is back, you're able to lock him and then have a safety over the top to help Riley Moss. But that is my first round mock draft. If you have any concerns, let me know down in the comment sections below. You can definitely argue with me on a pick that I made for your favorite team if you don't like it. If you do like it, let me know why down in the comment section below. If you did enjoy this video, please be sure to like and subscribe. All your support definitely means a lot to me, so thank you all so much for that. And yeah, that is all. And as always, it's Repulse, and I'm out. Thanks again for watching. Peace.